and we'll get into Cat Mother and Dark Tempest real quick. Or Cat Mother versus Ranko and Dark versus Tempest, rather. Dark Tempest is a pretty dope name, though. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into them real quick. Sorry about that, Millie. You've been voted off the island. Not really. We're never going to kick you out of the island. This is a pretty cool island. We're an accepting island. But unfortunately, not getting your way today. But we'll play more games today, probably. Unless I die from casting for 12 hours without... Or playing StarCraft and casting for 12 hours without doing anything. Anyways, so in the bottom left-hand corner, representing team No1CareThat, we have the Orange Terran, Ranko. And in the top right-hand corner, calling herself the Zerg player, we have one of my very close personal friends and one of the coolest people that I've ever known. We have NinaZerg. Balls. Sorry, Millie. Unfortunate circumstances. We don't always get what we want. But you know what, Millie? If you try, you get what you need. That's some wisdom from a Eastern guru. Came all the way from India. Very, very talented man. Came and spread the word of love to America. Goes by the name of Mick Jagger. Yeah, he's a yeah, great religious figure, Mick Jagger. Anyway, so NinaZerg going for a pretty standard play here so far. It looks like we've got our 9 drone scouting. We've got an Overlord in the egg, gonna be putting us into a pretty good position to be going into that 12 hatch opener, followed by an 11 pool. In the meantime, Ranko not doing anything too crazy either. Should be seeing a barracks coming up here very soon. We're going to be having most likely a barracks spin out of him since we aren't seeing a gas very quickly either. We're going to be on match point here. Match point, pretty sweet map. I really like it. You have a couple of pretty unique map features that you don't have on a lot of maps here. First of all, 2-player map, and you have this like variable choke here. So this is like a pretty wide choke, but not crazy wide. But like specifically as a Zerg, I like to mine out this last mineral patch to give myself even more surface area to fight against any kind of army that comes my way, because Zerg definitely benefits from having additional surface area for their Zerglings in their army, because Zerg is very vulnerable to splash damage, and just melee units really do need that surface area. NinaZerg doing her best to kind of harass around the base with her scouting drones, so that way it just doesn't sit here and do nothing while it's in here, but seeing everything she needs to see, knowing that her opponent most likely is going to be expanding soon, doesn't see any kind of extra barracks or anything like that, so she doesn't need to worry too much about anything. And then opting to go for just a single pair of Zerglings so far. That's going to allow her to watch the Terran's front and get this drone back home to the safety of the mineral line, while still having the vision for the move out time for Ranko. But yeah, nothing too crazy going on so far here. Ranko actually opting to throw down a bunker. That's a little unorthodox. Yeah, typically you don't really need a bunker for quite some time here. Especially since he had the scouting SCV over in the main base of NinaZerg. He should know that there's not any significant number of Zerglings headed his way. So that seems to be a bit of a mistake here. But Ranko, I mean, it's a couple of minerals, not the worst here. We do have a command center coming at a pretty reasonable time still, so it's not gonna be delayed too much. But we do have some SCVs kind of just chilling here doing nothing as well. So I'm a little curious what Ranko saw that made him feel like he needed to put down a bunker, because so far everything NinaZerg is doing is pretty much 100% standard. So NinaZerg looking like she's potentially going to be going for Mutalisk play, just due to the timing of this gas here. The gas typically comes down a little bit later as a lurker player, but again, this is the CPL, so there is variation in build orders that you don't see necessarily at higher levels of play. But Ranko now going for his gas here, so looks like we're getting a most likely +1 for his infantry units, and going to be moving into one of those very heavy infantry mid games that is so common to see versus Zerg players these days. Now it looks like we're looking to secure our natural base for Ranko. so that way you can lift that CC and get it over to the expansion and start getting benefit of having that CC producing all those SCVs and mining and doing all the great macro things that you need to do in order to get a bunch of shit to kill your opponent with, because that's pretty much the name of the game in StarCraft. Get a bunch of shit, kill your opponent with it. So NinaZerg doing a good job scouting around the base, scouting around the map rather. Some decent Overlord positioning as well, giving her, this is actually a very common drop path for Terran. And Nina's very good at a lot of the technical details, a very knowledgeable player who's been around the scene for quite some time. But I was incorrect, actually. It looks like Nina's going to be going for a lurker mid game here. So Nina also throwing down the traditional 3 Sunkens here. Very often you'll see a Zerg player either throw down these 2 additional Sunkens or go for an earlier third base here. Now with lurker play, third bases are fairly easily secured at the 12 and the 6 o'clock position. There's a choke point that you can take advantage of pretty easily by throwing, like, 2 to 3 lurkers behind the choke, and then the Marines have a really hard time pushing out into that into the inside of that expansion and doing the damage that they need to do, because they just get slaughtered by the lurker spines very quickly. Let's see here. So we've got second barracks coming down now for Ranko here. To me, it feels like a little bit late, but it looks like he's going to be going potentially for an early move out here. Gonna find, though, that NinaZerg does have 3 Sunkens ready and waiting to deal with his attack here. So should be in pretty good position here. Let me check out his map vision real quickly. Oh, there we go. Now he gets to scan. Finds out that NinaZerg is going lurkers, so he should be very aware of that. And realize that it is probably not a great idea to push the front of her base here. NinaZerg still not positioning yet for an expansion with a drone yet, but it looks like we have 3 Hydralisks moving down to this bottom base, so most likely she's going to be morphing those into lurkers and then defending with a nice bunch of high ground lurkers to take that third base in just a minute here. A lot of Zergs do not take this base as their third base because, again, as you can see, there is no gas, and third gas extremely important to be able to produce hive tech units like defilers. So in the meantime, though, we do have the push coming in out of Ranko at a very good time. This is about when you want it to be pushed out, because you're trying to catch the Zerg with their pants down before lurkers are morphed. These Hydralisks out in front of these... Well, I was going to say this could be pretty significant, having these Hydralisks out in front of these Sunkens, but it looks like they're just going to be morphing into eggs. So one of the reasons why NinaZerg most likely, or at least one of the... I would assume this is intentional, but one of the reasons why a lot of Zerg players will morph their lurkers in front of the spines is that when this army gets moved up into to do this attack here, these lurker eggs actually tank all the damage, because the units are going to, just like by the way the AI functions, they're going to shoot at those lurker eggs. So instead of doing damage to the spine crawlers and breaking them down, they're going to basically do useless damage to the lurker eggs and not get any value. So Nina's lurkers get caught morphing, but there aren't enough units here to power these down or anything like that. So Ranko on the retreat now, and Nina's going to be able to easily secure this high ground here. Although, very close to losing that lurker. But that's Brood War pathing for you. Sometimes things just get a little wonky there. I don't know if you guys saw, but that lurker definitely tried to run back to... like, basically, when you have 2 units coming up the ramp, sometimes one unit doesn't go up quite as fast as the other one wants it to go up, and then just decides... So the one behind just decides to run around like an idiot, trying to find a second way up the ramp, which there very obviously is not a good way for them to go. So, Nina now... Ooh, I totally missed this. Looks like Nina's gonna be going for a slow drop. This is the Doc Holiday special right here. Oh my gosh. This is the Nina special. This is gonna be a double lurker slow drop. This is actually brilliant. So Nina kind of baited the idea that she was taking a third base and made it look like she was securing the high ground, and even fooled me for a minute here, but never having any intention to try to take that third base very early. Instead, going to be slow dropping lurkers into the natural and the main expansions here, and oh my gosh, we have so many kills already. That's 5 kills, and now that all these guys are headed over here, there's going to be 2 lurkers coming to hit the entirety of Ranko's SCVs. Oh my gosh, they are so clumped up! Oh my god! We're at 17 kills, 19 kills. Oh my god, that's so disgusting. 25 kills on these two so far, 26 kills, plus a bunch more that were here at the natural. Oh my god, Nina absolutely decimating the economy of Ranko right now, and Ranko just not have any kind of response to it. NinaZerg now doubling down, having both the Overlord drop and speed, is going to be able to do tons of harassment with these lurker drops, and even potentially drop links to support these. Nina now just burrowing to burn more scans and force this Terran to continue to scan over and over again and waste any kind of mobile detection that he has. There still aren't any turrets on the map, so Nina's continual drop harass might even be more successful than these last ones now that her opponent is completely out of scans. Oh man, this is super gross. Dude, this is amazing. Nina's so good. What is happening here? Now, you wonder, oh man, this seems really broken. How can Zerg possibly get away with this greedy, crazy crap where they just attack all over the place? Well, the trade-off, obviously, is that we are seeing that we still don't have the hive. There we go. I was going to say, Nina just putting down her queen nest now. That means that there's going to be a significant delay in the timing that she's going to be able to get. Oh man, drop instantly caught by these lurkers. Very fortunate for NinaZerg. That was a very good time for her to be able to see that drop coming out here, because that could have been potentially devastating and even the playing field a little bit. But Nina's got a massive number of lurkers on the way to the Terran base now, and Terran is now forced to defend all over the place because drops are a very real possibility, pretty much putting his entire base as fair game for aggression here. So drop now coming out to again try to make a little more aggression here. Got these units just kind of chilling here, so denying the third base at least for a time with those random units that were searching for a third base earlier on. In the meantime though, let's see if we have anything crazy going on here. Nina looking for the drop. Woo! And drops right on top of a siege tank, but the initial shot pushes the first lurker away and it gets killed. Meanwhile, we do have a drop in the top left-hand portion of Nina's main base, and this drop not getting too much value out of here. Hopefully Nina has a good response to this drop in her own main base though, because it could potentially do a lot of damage. Looks like Nina's very aware of it, already has units rallying over to stop any kind of damage done from these. So we do have a whole bunch of Zerglings queued up, and that's more than enough Zerglings to take this out. The question is he going to get the spawning pool? Yes, he is. So that's a pretty big pickup there for Ranko's units here. Not being able to make Zerglings pretty significant. Continual damage. Looks like we're losing more and more buildings here before Nina has decided to engage. But in the meantime, Nina is going all in at the front of the Terran base with a giant lurker push. So Massive Spine's going to wipe out Ranko's units really, really quickly. And now we just have a couple of tanks fighting like a huge contingent of lurkers. In the meantime, though, we do have a ton of just buildings going down. We've lost the Hydralis Den. We've lost a hatchery. We don't have any units here to defend the spawning pool. Remaking two separate positions so that way it's more difficult for Nina to have that sniped again. But man, this drop is doing way more damage than it should have. Nina knew exactly when it was coming in here, had plenty of time to respond to that, and just unfortunately was unable to, I guess, micro her units effectively enough to deal with it. But we do have the natural expansion now of Ranko flying, and oh my god, the hive goes down and more hatcheries are going down. This is absolutely terrible for Nina. Man, in a game that I thought Ranko had no place staying in, all of a sudden he's dropped his way to being into a very advantageous position against our Zerg player here. Nina has a couple of lurkers here, ready and able to defend her natural expansion though from any more advancements from this bio army that's currently in her main base. But what can Nina do right now? She's had her tech almost completely reset, going now just for the lair here. Can't even produce additional fighting units yet because, I mean, her spawning pool just finished up. We do have the Hydralis Den now finishing up, so that's going to allow additional lurkers to be produced eventually here. The one thing Nina does have going for her is she's not sitting on no bank. So once this Hydralis Den finishes up, she should be able to produce a good number of lurkers and potentially turn her way back into this game. But a 2-base Zerg versus a 2-base Terran is not a a situation I personally ever want to be in, outside of a couple of kind of funky 2-hatch builds. But even these larvae that Nina is trying to potentially get some value out of are getting found now by Ranko, and that's going to be kind of annoying, because really at this point any larva and any resources that Nina can save is going to be really important to get her back into this game. However, Nina, not being one to just give up, going to try to get the Craigasm drop with these lurkers in the main base, but it looks like it was pretty well responded to. Nina immediately picking it up. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or if she was trying to fly this over to the natural or what's going on now, but I hope she drops these lurkers. Ah, and the lurkers die! That's super significant. In the meantime, Nina gets, the bio units make their way behind the natural expansion and puts Nina in an completely unwinnable position. And there we go. Nina goes down 1 game in best of 3. Ranko up 1 so far, and kind of a crazy series. Pretty dope. I'm liking it. Very, very interesting game. I really actually love the style that Nina did. Those initial 2 double lurker drops were absolutely insane. And the only reason why Ranko was able to make it back into this game was because, holy crap, did that drop do a crap ton of damage. That was absolutely nuts. I've never seen a drop do that much damage for a single drop in a MMR bracket that Nina is in. She's like 16 something. That's a lot of damage for 1 single drop to do, especially in the position that she was in. So let's get ahead and get into game number 2. This is gonna be a circuit breaker spawning in the top right or bottom right hand base here on circuit breaker. Again, as the orange Terran, we have up 1 game Ranko, representing team No1CareThat, and in the bottom left hand Zerg spawning this time as the yellow Zerg. We have NinaZerg down 1 game so far. Whew. Man, the double drop was super sick though. I can't believe that she got that many kills. That was insane. It was like, I would estimate like a total of like 30 SCVs went down or something like that, between, because there weren't that many going down at the natural expansion, but as they all migrated towards the main and the second drop happened, I assume that Ranko was just looking at the front of his base trying to deal with the first 2 lurkers, and the second 2 cleaned up, man. So it was a ton of damage here. So I hope that Nina can potentially bring it back and tie it up the series so we can get 3 games out of it. It's gonna be pretty tough. Although I think overall Nina's build order was potentially a bit more sound in mechanics. Were a bit better than Ranko's. I mean, that's just kind of like the opinion that I had, because I feel like Ranko's army was there were some things that could have potentially been improved, and NinaZerg's build was pretty on point, but the drop defense was just absolutely devastating. Yeah, Luke Machine, I definitely agree. Being at such a massive macro advantage and then going in and trying to continue to do attacks seemed like a little greedy. Although, I don't know, I kind of feel that it wasn't a terrible idea. I just wish that she had kept a couple of additional lurkers at home and like covered her bases, right? Because when you're that far ahead, sure, you eventually need to end the game, right? But I think that when you've killed 30 workers in a game, you can afford to leave, you know, like 2 lurkers behind in your main mineral line and 2 in your natural, so that way you're totally fine in case your opponent tries to do any kind of desperation move that might potentially bring them back into the game. Because, you know, when you're that far ahead, you have to think to yourself, man, what are the ways that I can lose this game still? And drops is definitely one of those tools that can allow a player to potentially come back into a game and do devastating damage like we saw in last game. But both our players again going for very standard builds. We've got the 1 barracks expand coming out of Ranko. Hopefully this time we don't see a bunker, because that was a little excessive. But we got the 12 hatch, pretty standard play coming out of Nina as well so far. So in about 1 supplier set, we should be seeing another hatchery. There we go. All right, hatchery coming down now, and then we're going to see our gas timing. That could potentially give us an indication of what builds that Nina is going to be going for, but you never know, because again, I got tricked into thinking it was Mutalisk when it was in fact lurkers. Typically when you're going for 3 hatch Nina, you want to get the gas immediately after you get the hatch, so at like 12 or 13 supply, so you can get your layer as fast as possible, get those 9 Mutalisks out before the Terran has a chance to walk across the map and do damage to you. But, you know, looks like it's probably going to be a lurker timing at this point, just due to how late the gas is, but could be wrong, you know, you never know. We are still talking CPL MMR here. I mean, these guys are definitely A-teamers, so they're going to be a lot cleaner than B-teamers, such as myself. But there is still, you know, room for small errors here and there, and definitely larger errors as the game go on. But usually you don't typically see early build order misses from a lot of these guys, just because, you know, they're experienced enough now to kind of know how to play the earlier parts of the build order. Things get more difficult as you have to juggle more and more tasks. So we do have Academy coming up with 2 barracks here. So Ranko potentially looking to do a bit of an early aggressive attack here. Going to see some early medics and marine pressure potentially. Nina already has a sunken colony up, so it's going to be difficult for him to get too much done early on, like super early on, because sunken colonies are very potent versus small numbers of bio armies, especially with Zergling support here. But we'll have to see how he decides to make use of his academy here, or if he's going to be going for like a tech, because 2 racks into a factory and a starport and you get vessels and tanks pretty quickly. Also not like the most uncommon build ever, although it is quite old school. But yeah. Alright, so we do have medics being produced already. So yeah, I would very much expect at this point to see in just a couple of moments some Marines walking across the map here. Nina playing very cautiously, getting her second sunken and probably a third even Creek colony coming up in a little bit here. 2 is kind of a strange number. A lot of times you see 3. But this is very unfortunate. So NinaZerg not watching the long attack path, so not going to have the foresight to potentially make a bunch of units to defend this. We do have a whole very powerful army coming down, sweeping around the bottom portion of the map to do a pretty potent timing attack here on the Zerg natural base. But Nina is getting a 3rd creep colony here. She's going to see this now. Going to supply block her, but also give her a little bit of extra time to morph this into a 3rd sunken colony. Unfortunately, Nina doesn't really have any kind of Zerglings on the map, but man, dude, every second that Ranko holds off on this attack is a second that this sunken colony has to morph. And this is not going to work out for Ranko, man. If he had just gone for it instantly, I very much believe if he had done that and then targeted down these lurkers as opposed, or these sunkens as opposed to spreading his damage out, this would have been a much more successful attack. But now NinaZerg not in a bad spot here. Typically, you do want to get a little more damage done than that with this build. However, it does, you know, it does help Terran contain Zerg onto 2 bases for a little bit longer than you normally would see. But NinaZerg going and getting probably the lurker upgrade here. Yep, almost done here. And once that lurker upgrade is done, she can aggressively move those lurkers forward, leapfrogging them until she pushes the Terran outside of those double bridges, which will then give her an opportunity to take her 3rd. But Ranko continuing to rally units across the map to reinforce this army out here. I'm actually quite concerned that he's going to attempt to go for a 2nd bus, which would be extremely inadvisable at this point. We have lurkers already on the way, morphing outside of those sunken colonies, I mean, there's 3 sunkens. This army probably couldn't bust 3 sunkens, even though these are kind of bruised up at this point. With just a couple of lings, like, this probably wouldn't do it, the trick anyways. So I'm a little interested in what Ranko's thinking at this point. But we'll have to go ahead and see. So, alright, yep. So we've got a factory in Starport. This is probably going to be producing tanks. We're probably going to have science vessels out here. It's going to be kind of like a funky little 2-base tech attack. Again, this is a little bit more old school of a style, so you don't see it as much. You usually see Terrans stick on bio pretty exclusively with a couple of vessels, and use that to take their 3rd base and then transition into mech or transition into bio with tank once they have a bit of larger economy. But instead, Ranko playing a bit older style can be potent though. I will very typically lose to this style just because I'm like, oh shit, a tank? Really? I don't have anything to deal with this right now. So you just kind of get killed because you're not expecting to have to deal with a tank. And the tank gets into a sieged up position way before you're ready to deal with it, and then you just kind of die. But NinaZerg powering pretty hard on here, getting her hive now on 3 bases. This isn't terrible. Looks like she's trying to take into consideration that drop that she lost to last time by putting a sunken in the main base. I think that's a little overcautious, but she doesn't really have too many units in any kind of position to spot any kind of drops. So, I mean, it's not a terrible idea either. But NinaZerg, I would really like to see her ninja third base or something like that with this drone that's just been hiding at the top of the map. Third base, very, very important versus Terran to be able to get those defilers and pay for them on time. However, she does have a very large contingent of lurkers out here on the map right now, and I mean, well, I was gonna say she could potentially lurker bust, but it looks like Ranko, realizing that he's potentially vulnerable to that type of strategy, seriously turtling up the front of his base. So Nina, hearing me, obviously, hearing my beautiful voice from the future, calling to her, Nina, expand, expand, Nina, decides to ninja the top with that drone there. So we're in a pretty good dang good spot right now as NinaZerg. She just needs to get that defiler defiler mound, right? Mound, got it. Man, I'm so glad that I said mound right before I clicked it. I would have been really embarrassed not remembering the name of that structure. But yep, getting her defiler mound now, and so once these defilers are out, she's going to be pretty much invulnerable to any kind of Terran attack. We don't really see... Yeah, we don't even have a vessel on the field quite yet. It's just finishing up in that starport. Looks like we are going to have another drop from Ranko, really favoring that dropship play early on. That can be pretty annoying to deal with, but I'm very much hoping that NinaZerg has a bit better of a response to it than she has last time. Wow, what a massive army moving around pretty gracefully. This is actually quite nice control. I know a lot of people think that sounds kind of funny, but in Brood War, moving a lot of units around at the same time is very difficult. Now Ranko, let's see what he can do here. NinaZerg does have overlords in position to potentially see this drop coming in, but it doesn't look like she's pulling many units back here to deal with this. We don't even have any units really being oh, no, we do. Okay, we do have some units being rallied over here. Just the rally points were kind of funky initially. But, yeah, nothing... I mean, I don't know really what to make of this game right now. Massive army now should be able to break this because these are kind of bruised up. We do have defilers here. None of them have enough energy for a Dark Swarm yet. Consume may not even be totally complete yet. Yeah, Consume hasn't finished up yet, so this army could potentially do a lot of damage, but Nina now bringing her reinforcements from her main army over here. And we do have a lurker and plenty of Zerglings to take care of this. Looks like the drop has not yet decided to come in here as well, so Nina is in a pretty fantastic position at this point. That was the bulk of the bio army that was macroed up for Ranko here, and at this point Ranko doesn't have really very many aggressive options. Nina now on 3 bases with a massive count of lurkers. We've got a good number of defilers on the field already. We don't yet have a spire. Doesn't look like there's one on the way yet either, so these could be some pretty annoying vessels for a little bit here. The only real option that Nina has to deal with these would be a couple of spores at the front of her base would be pretty helpful, and then Hydrals could very well easily deal with them as well if she had them kind of around her main army. Try to keep them away from those very expensive defilers. Single irradiate will kill the defilers, so those two initial defilers are already dead. Very unfortunate, very expensive, very pivotal units for Nina. She really wants to get those defilers across the map so she can put swarms around here and get these lurkers on top of this army, because once she's able to get swarms down in front of the natural expansion, there'll be pretty much no hope left for Ranko. So let's go ahead and see if she can successfully get some swarms down here. It looks like she's going to be able to do that, because these vessels that should really be on the map looking and hunting for defilers at this point in the game, pretty much just chilling, taking a smoke break, hanging out here. So this is very interesting unsiege timing. Hopefully Nina's able to get another swarm here across the bridge, get our units in position to start hitting the front of this base here. But another very nice couple of irradiates here going to make these defilers pretty much a non-factor for the rest of this engagement here. But these are some very aggressively positioned lurkers here, potentially able to hit this top bunker, it looks like. And so this is going to be a very nice position for Nina to continue her attack and just rallying a buttload Put defilers across this map. Meanest things. Man, fuck a scourge. I don't need a scourge. I'm just gonna make so many defilers. You can't possibly have enough irradiates to kill them all. So, alrighty. Now, additional defilers now just making it to the natural expansion here. Let's see, will we get another cauliflower off? And we do. I'm stealing that term, by the way, Chess. I fucking love calling the Dark Storms cauliflowers. Super dope. But now that these lurkers are so incredibly aggressively positioned, there isn't really that much that Ranko can do to stop Nina from breaking this base now. All of his bio units getting spined to death, the last bunker about to go down, Cracklings getting on top of the tanks. What can be done here? Now let's take a look at our lurker numbers. We're starting to run kind of low on lurkers, but at this point it's kind of like the natural expansion's basically forfeit. Nina not even giving a crap, just going right up, starting to push up this ramp here. And as soon as Nina can get lurker on top of these barracks and stop the production from ever being able to get out on the new map and continue, combat our army, it's going to be pretty much game over. But Ranko deciding to stick in this game for a little bit longer. Oh, never mind. Calls the GG. Very well played by NinaZerg. Very surgical strike. I think that if Ranko had potentially done his drop instead of trying to attack the front of Nina's base, he might have had a little more success. But overall, very well played by both players. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get into game number 3, getting our tiebreaker out for the series between NinaZerg and Ranko. Let's hop on into it. Alright guys, this is going to be played on Aztec 2.1. Pretty interesting map. Going to have a couple of things that we need to look out for. There's going to be a reverse ramp going to the natural expansion, which can potentially spell doom for a Terran player if a Zerg player decides to go for 9-pool shenanigans. As well as some pretty interesting architecture for the natural and third bases. A lot of really weird stuff that you can look at on Aztec and say, huh, that's pretty unusual for a map. But Aztec actually a fantastically balanced and very interesting map to play on. A lot of people's favorite map. Oh, the score alert. My bad. I kind of stopped using that when Gorgonoth decided to like switch up and like not finish series and stuff. I was very confused, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Yeah. Wait, that's not it. There we go. Get rid of that. Sorry about that. Yeah, I got really confused because my co-caster before he left decided to not cast the entire sets of everything. And unfortunately I don't even have the replay, so I'm gonna probably grab them from Python or Laser Snipe later and do another cast so we can finish up the series between these two teams. But I'm working with what I'm given, unfortunately, today. So sorry about that. But no, I just forgot about that overlay, unfortunately. So, but alrighty. So Ranko deciding to get a little cheeky here on the Aztec with a proxy barracks in the middle of the map here. Pretty interesting. Starting up his supply depot now, but oh my gosh, is this gonna get scouted? And Nina sees the proxy barracks. Oh my lord. This barracks isn't even close to being completed, so Nina's gonna be able to deny this barracks most likely. Ranko with some pretty nice SCV maker here, pulls it off of the barracks for a second, and then does the right-click spam to get it to attack a little bit more quickly. But, having to, trying to complete this barracks is going to put his SCV in a very vulnerable position over and over and over again. And there we go. There goes the building SCV, and now the barracks is canceled. So we got no barracks so far for our buddy here, Ranko. And he's going to be very disappointed to know there's a very early spawning pool that could potentially be doing some damage to him in the future here. This is, I believe, a 12 pool, so it's not going to be like a 9 pool, lol, lings in your base, immediately you die. But, not having the barracks on time and having this be a reverse ramp is going to be pretty ridiculous. Nina's initial Zerglings may be able to do a lot of damage. Looks like Nina deciding to not go for the aggressive option here, just building drones here. So I guess this was just the safety pool here. Just to make sure, like in case her opponent somehow got the barracks finished, that she didn't die to any kind of early marine shenanigans, but not going for any kind of aggressive Zergling stuff. So I would expect these to be some more drones here. Let's check it out. Oh no, okay, getting 4 Zerglings, not a terrible option. Nina's a very brainy player, incredibly intelligent girl in general, and I think this is a good decision. I think just poking over here, because it's a reverse ramp, like, is always going to be a good bet here. So I hope that she goes and tries to get a little bit aggressive with these 4 Zerglings here. But in the meantime, we should be seeing gas anytime now. I was going to say, it's getting a little late there, Nina, but the Zergling do kind of buy you a little time, and her build order can be delayed a bit because of how devastating losing that proxy barracks is going to be to Ranko's build order. So overall, I think Nina is in an absolutely fantastic position so far this game. Scouting SCV, now heading over towards this natural expansion in Nina here. But Nina's Zerglings are going to arrive with no SCVs on the ramp, and that's going to spell a pretty big problem for Ranko here. These Lings should be going in. What are you doing, Nina? Why are you freaking out? I guess you're just waiting for these last 2 Lings. Come on, push it. Come on, girl, salt and pepper that. No, and we have a couple of SCVs minnow walking their way through some Marines to get up here at the top of the ramp, and unfortunately the micro here from NinaZerg a little indecisive. First going for the SCV, then going for the Marine, then going for the SCV again. Not as much damage as it could potentially be done here, and we're not 100% sure that she saw the Vulture, which is, this is actually going to be devastating. So without any kind of sunken here and no Ling speed yet, this Vulture could do game-ending damage. Even being this far behind, without having anything that can really catch up to this Vulture, good micro coming out of Ranko could just kill an infinite number of Zerglings and just drones. And now Nina's starting to realize the mistake that she made is going to probably be pretty upset with herself. This is one of the best ways I think that Ranko could have potentially got himself into this game, and Nina's ramp causing a little bit of an issue for her at the beginning there. Blocking the drones from getting down here. But the whole entire army now walking past the Sunken colony. Sunken just not morphing quite in time. A very nice mineral walk onto these Marines, though, getting some pretty decent surface area, killing them about as efficiently as a drones could. Hopefully this Vulture takes a bit of damage from the Sunken, but it looks like it's just barely in the range of that ramp there. So you gotta get the rest of these guys evacuated. Oh, Nina going for the... Oh my gosh! And Ranko with the poor control, letting his Vulture die to just a couple of drones here. This is not terrible. As you can see, the supply is fairly even, considering that this is a ZVT and Terran should pretty much always be ahead. Yeah, it's really not looking too bad here, but we do have now a Wraith coming into NinaZerg's base, and Nina now just throwing down the Evo chamber. So, man, this... I really would have loved to see Nina throw this down a little bit earlier. Typically when you see a Vulture, you kind of can tell yourself, okay, there's going to be a Wraith follow-up, or some kind of shenanigans following this up that you're going to need anti-air. Because if it's not a Wraith, it's potentially, you know, like Vulture drops, and at that point, Hydras are still good. But Nina doing some pretty nice damage here, getting a good number of Marines. But in the meantime, you know, we do have a Vulture over in the base being kind of dumb and literally doing nothing. But okay, so this is man, this is such a weird game. Alright, so Ling's now on the expansion that had almost completed for Ranko. Going to potentially be able to cancel this because there aren't really very many units here in the main base for Ranko right now, and he doesn't have all that much money. We got 1 barracks and 1 factory, so I mean, it's gonna be pretty difficult for Ranko to defend this. Look how low that CC is already, and there isn't even very much HP left on it for, like, even if these SCVs come down here and try to complete this this command center, it's gonna be burning and it's gonna be in red HP because it's almost complete to begin with. But man, that Wraith did absolutely nothing. Holy crap, Ranko, you could have done so much more, but instead he kind of just shot at that Sunken colony for a really long time and allowed Nina to get spores up in her base. So yeah, not looking so bad for Nina here. Nina got down in here, slowed down, putting down the additional production structures for Ranko. Ranko now having to spend a bunch of money repairing his CC, and these Wraiths not getting very much use. Yeah, looking like Nina's going to be in a pretty fantastic spot. However, Nina is down quite a bit in supply because she does not have very many drones right now. Spending 4 drones to make these plus the minerals that it costs to make some has put a pretty big tax on her mineral economy. But she does already have her lair, and Mutalisk coming up. Mutalisk costs a whole lot more gas than, well, same amount of gas, but when you consider how much less gas you normally get, Mutalisk is a great choice, especially when you're on a low draw count on minerals. So hopefully Nina's able to leverage these Mutalisks into doing a whole bunch of damage. This is looking pretty decent for her, although she hasn't been mining gas quite enough yet to really get a whole bunch of Mutalisks out. But if she does, you know, there is a lot of Firebat production going on, which means that there's not going to be as many Marines on the field as, you know, Ranko could potentially like when he's wanting to come over here and deal with the Mutalisks. Yeah. Man, this has been such a strange game so far. Ranko now looking to be in a pretty decent position. Unfortunately... Yeah, I know, my light is off. I have a light, I just don't want to have it on. I could turn it on though. Jordan, would you like me to turn my light on? I would do that for you, buddy. Oh man, another Overlord goes down. That's a bit of an unfortunate loss for NinaZerg right now, considering the supply that she's at. But she has been able to produce a little bit. And oh my gosh, is the dropship going to go down to spores? Oh my gosh, what a ridiculous way to lose a dropship. That must feel just terrible. He even knew that those spores were there because he'd been flying around with his wraiths. That is a huge loss. Dropships cost gas in this game. They cost 120 gas. They are very expensive, and it was a full dropship full of units. That's, oh man. That's got to be really painful. Now, NinaZerg streaming units down over here. There are Firebats and Medics here, which is kind of what's going to be the saving grace for Ranko. It looks like they weren't even A-moved, potentially. The things kind of just running their way, trying to run past these units to their death, unfortunately. But Nina has a pretty potent defense set up here, so I don't think there's too much that can be done. Nina patrolling Scourge all around the borders of her base, anywhere that could potentially have a dropship fly through, and maybe potentially even catch some Wraiths here. These Wraiths just getting more and more Overlord kills, though, going to be very irritating. It's so annoying to get your Overlord sniped and then have no supply available to you when you're at a critical moment right before an attack, but looks like we got a Hydralisk going to come out here and deal with this bad boy, and a couple of Scourge being borrowed from Nina's protective barrier. Bam, there he goes. And mines, not so great on the attack. Nina trying to potentially drag a couple of mines onto this army here. Hydralisk much better for that because they don't die as quickly. But oh man, one mine takes out 3 Hydralisks. That's a pretty huge loss. Man, that really stinks. Ranko, in the meantime, starting to really macro up. He really likes going for this really old school 3 barracks with tech behind it style. So, looks like we're going to be seeing tanks eventually coming out this way. NinaZerg just starting to get on her hive tech. Looks like we have a Queen's Nest, I assume. Oh no, that's an additional hatchery. So no Queen's Nest actually coming up for Nina quite yet. Tanks could potentially pose a very difficult problem for her to solve in the future here. And we do have a fairly powerful drop coming down here into the main base, and Nina not really with any kind of units here that could potentially stop this. So the Spire getting focused down almost immediately. Nina morphing a couple of lurkers here at the front of her base and in her main base. But this is going to do a ton of damage, and this is really unfortunate because the Scourge that Nina stole from her little protective barrier of Scourge were the ones that could have potentially stopped this dropship from getting into her main base. So NinaZerg looking like she's going to potentially lose this game now to another drop. Ranko getting very fortunate with his drops throughout this series, and it's yeah, this looks like it's going to spell the end of NinaZerg. There isn't too much here that could potentially stop this hatchery from going down, and she really needs every little advantage that she can get here. Nina pretty much totally contained at this point. Ranko getting everything he could possibly ask for from this drop here, even killing the army with very, very, very nice efficiency due to the Firebats being able to deal so well with these Zerglings here. At this point, I'm very worried for NinaZerg. She doesn't have any bases around the rest of the map here. Let's take a look at the main real quickly. We do have a couple of science vessels. I think that might be the first science vessel because yep, that looks like the first science vessel coming out of our starport here. And then first tank as well out on the map. If we can get a siege, okay, looks like the drop is getting cleaned up by these random lurkers over here. But if we can get a siege up here now at the front of the base, it's going to be pretty much lights out for NinaZerg. So hopefully she can find a way to deal with that. Typically, the way you want to see someone deal with that is with the Queen's Nest and going to a lair and making these really ridiculously powerful units called Defilers, so the tanks can't hit any of your lurkers. But doesn't look like that's going to be in the cards. Unfortunately, Nina down about 33 supply to her opponents. And that's a pretty massive, almost insurmountable advantage here. I mean, this is StarCraft Brood War. There are some funny micro things that you can do to potentially get yourself back into the game, but this is one of those comeback situations that's next to impossible. Alrighty, Ranko now positioning himself to potentially do another drop here. I think this is an interesting choice. I would very much rather see some sort of a move out. Ranko should know at this point by how much damage he's done to NinaZerg that you know, his tanks pose a very significant threat to her game state right now. Nina, though, aggressively moving these lurkers forward. I'm not sure this is the best idea. We have a very nice minefield out here at the front protecting this natural expansion from taking any real damage. I mean, all this can really do is potentially contain the Terran. Nina running some lings in, realizing that there's mines there, pulls her lurkers back without before they get instigated. But we do have the drop now arriving at the well, okay. All right, dropship. I don't really know what you're doing at this point, buddy. But it looked like he was about to go drop in this expansion here, but I think he realized that the spores were there, so maybe a little bit change of plans, potentially going to go drop it in the main. The Wraiths, kind of funnily enough, working a little bit against the Wraith attack initially, kind of funnily enough, working a little bit against Ranko now, as there are spores in the way of his dropship paths. So kind of a funny turn of events there. But yeah, Ranko just massing up tanks, massing up bio units at the front of his base now. We should be seeing pretty significant push out coming up here fairly soon. But just a very significant number of idle SCVs right now. Ranko, I think, paying a little bit too much attention to his troop movement all over the map and dealing with these lurkers up at the front. This is a very significant portion of his economy not doing anything right now. So a bit of a mistake coming out of Ranko so far. But NinaZerg, you know, up to a fairly healthy hatchery count here. And unfortunately, the macro coming out of Ranko is not fantastic. As you can see, he doesn't have like this overwhelming sized army that he could potentially have right now. So NinaZerg in a position to potentially overwhelm him with units because her money is just being kept very low. Doing a great job macroing. So NinaZerg already aware of the potential for the drop up here in this nasty little corner where you can put siege tanks up here. She had lurkers in position to deal with that, but unfortunately hasn't gotten a kill on this tank yet. A couple more should do the trick. But very impressive that she was aware, because I actually had no idea that you could do this on Aztec. I've never had it happen to me before. So the fact that she was just prepared for that in any sense is pretty cool. Now, this lurker struggling to get over here to deal with this, but there is very little HP left on the tank, so Nina should be able to... oh, sorry about that. Should be able to deal with this. There we go. And the tank goes down. So, yeah, man. Ranko, I would really like Ranko to start working on his macro a little bit more. This is a pretty small army in comparison to what he should have by this point in the game, especially considering that he hasn't taken too much significant damage at any point during the game. Nothing too crazy has happened to him on the economic side or anything other than an okay ling run by that NinaZerg was able to pull off. But NinaZerg playing very much from behind on the economic standpoint. Her opponent almost double the supply right now. Kind of looking grim at this point, but you know, if there's a unit that can turn a game around, it's definitely the Defiler. So with some good micro and potentially some bad micro from her opponent, and if her opponent continues to slack on the macro end of things, NinaZerg could potentially see some success. Unfortunately, very large Zergling army just getting really destroyed by the AI here. As you can see, the Zerglings didn't fan out and really attack the army very efficiently at all. Instead, all trying to really just attack that tank, and that's a pretty significant loss for her. That could have gone a lot better than it did, and honestly, I'm not sure why the Zerglings attacked in the pattern that they did, but unfortunately getting caught on each other. Sorry for the yawning, guys. I've been streaming for almost 13 hours now, and so I think I'm going to have to call it at the end of this series, but we will finish up the rest of this series a bit later. I'm going to make sure that we get those replays so that we can get everybody's games casted, because I do want to make sure that you know, all the players that spend time coming out here and playing these games get their games watched, because I think it's so much more fun you know, having people getting to watch your games and feel like you're competing and getting casted by somebody than it is just playing your league games and not having anyone know or care about what happened in them. I know, I love having my games casted. It's so much fun, you know, having someone commentate and see what they think about my play. But so a very, very strong army now coming up from Ranko here. About to push up into Nina's base here. I'm not sure, I don't think this lurker is covered, but oh, looks like it is. Yep. Darkstorm has a really funny graphic that extends a little bit further than, or that doesn't extend quite as far as the Darkstorm's effect range is. But it looks like Ranko's going to be doing a double drop into the main, and I don't believe Nina has any way to deal with this. She could potentially be seeing this with her Scourge. Oh man. Man, if Scourge grabbed these two dropships, where are these dropships going? What are you doing, Ranko? That's your base over there. Woo. And a nice Science Vessel snipe coming in on NinaZerg so far. Where are these going? That's ridiculous. Ranko's like, oh shit, there's a Terran in the bottom corner of the map. Oh wait, that's me. Never mind. We should probably go back to killing this player. So Nina continuing her defense up the top of this ramp here, with the single lurker under this Dark Swarm. But oh my god! Oh! Come on! All right, and one almost full dropship gets sniped out here. Nina is now probably very aware that there is a drop here. A good pull of her drones, not losing as much as she potentially could have, and getting that snipe with the Scourge is a pretty significant deal at this point. One dropship units is vastly easier to deal than two, because the Terran army's DPS is so ridiculous that having, you know, just another dropship full of units makes like things like exponentially worse. But man, Nina's Scourge control has been very good so far, sniping off tons of these Science Vessels. And reducing their number quite significantly. I believe there was like 4 or 5 before this push, or when this push started. And Nina's multitasking, getting a bit taxed here. But yeah, I was gonna say, allowing these tanks up the top of this ramp, despite there being a lurker up here. But Nina responding pretty quickly, doing a good job getting the swarm down and attacking with the Lings. Unfortunately, these Lings now fighting into fire bats, which are very effective under swarm. But again, continuing to hold the top of this ramp. Nina's doing such a great job using that Zerg tech to really just hold our opponent at bay, whilst she continues to try to fight for her life in this game. Ranko's position in this game, though, seems to be so dominant, though. I mean, like, despite the supply parity here, if you look at the banks, that really tells the story. I mean, you can come back when your opponent has a large bank and you don't, but it's going to be very difficult, because even if Nina works her way back into this game, she's going to have to wear the Terran down, and it's going to take a very long time to do that, because he's going to have so much money expanding. Like, he's going to be able to, like, even if he's not able to get another base, he's going to be able to stay on these two bases with no mining available left on him for quite some time. But yeah, Ranko just you know, just having a real hard time, you know, macroing and spending his money the way that he should be doing. I think this game would have been over a very long time ago if Ranko had the requisite amount of production structures and, you know, APM dedicated to making sure those production structures are always moving. Oh man, and his attack getting immediately thwarted by a couple of mines and getting the Defiler irradiated that's just such a bummer. There was a single firebat here, but like, if there wasn't those mines there, that attack could have been potentially much more effective for NinaZerg. But unfortunately, this swarm is going to get pretty much no value, and so those units were basically free. Oh my god, Krakens are so insane. Look how much damage these freaking guys are doing. These guys are nuts. Wow, fireback going down quite quickly here. But man, NinaZerg is in such a tight spot. I don't really know what she can do to get back in this game, but I mean, at this point, both players are kind of just playing a bit passive here. NinaZerg's economy is pretty decimated right now. That drop did a really great job at just absolutely decimating her main mineral line here. And she's running out of minerals in both her main and her natural. An additional tank drop here at the top right of the base is going to do even more damage. Luckily, this, I was going to say, this Lurker doing a good job hitting both of the tanks at the same time. And we do have Swarm now, so it's going to be defended much more efficiently than last time. Now that the Swarm is down, tanks aren't going to be able to do any damage to it. So these tanks are going to be given up basically for free now. Got a Lurker for its time and some damage, but overall, not a fantastic drop at all. Oh man, I thought the purple dot covered the teal drop for a second on the minimap, and I was like, holy crap, did she even get the drop ship? That's insane, Nina, what the hell? But alright, so our Ranko, our Terran player here, deciding, man, you know it's really not a shitty unit, even though it totally is like a really terrible unit? The Wraith. So, massing up Wraiths here in his main base. Wraiths suck. Wraiths really, really suck. But you know what really doesn't suck? Surprise a bunch of Wraiths. So, like, once this number gets sufficiently high, if Ranko just moves out and just annihilates all of the Overlords like really quickly, Nina's not going to have the time to produce enough anti-air to really deal with this. And that could potentially kill her very quickly if Ranko, you know, doesn't telegraph rather that he's massing up these Wraith counts. And these Wraiths looking like they were attempting to get out of the way, but now showing them off. I think this is potentially a bit of a mistake here. Nina does have some time to potentially get some spores up and things like that. If she has Plague as well, we could potentially see these go down to like a single sunken. But, alrighty, these Wraiths, oh man, these Wraiths should just park over. What are you doing? Ranko, just kill all of these Lurkers with your Wraiths, man! Now you're just, oh my. Ranko with some very interesting ideas on how to play Wraith. I just feel like losing all of your bio to Lurker's AFK whilst you do, you know, some drone damage is not the best idea here. Nina's units should be trapped here by these, and he doesn't even reveal. Okay, come on now. All right, Ranko, there you go, buddy. That's what we were looking for. I was very curious on what he was doing there. God, Nina doing such a good job with these swarms, just saving her defilers over and over again, swarming themselves. But Nina's multitasking continue to be tasked, and she swarms down here on the low ground and is able to aggressively push her Lurkers forward again. God, you know, Nina's defiler usage has been just phenomenal this game, doing a very fantastic job keeping her self in the game just by essentially effectively using her defilers over and over and over again. But now these Wraiths are in the main base with no sunkens, no spores, no spores, and no defilers plaguing any of this, and no Hydralisks. This is going to be a very difficult proposition for NinaZerg to keep this base alive. But man, guys, if you look at the resource tab, I mean, we're seeing this bank getting cut in half already for Ranko. Nina's done. Oh my god! And a massive plague hits every single one of these Wraiths here. Now paper planes turning into just some soggy paper planes. These guys are like toilet paper about to fall off. Look at these Hydras are just gonna fucking slam these guys anew. Oh, okay, well, they run away. Man, that was a huge plague. Look at that! Every single one of those Wraiths. Down to 1 HP now. Massive plague. What a sick play out of Nina. Nina really needs to expand here. And, you know, I mean, a spore here, especially now that you've plagued all of those Wraiths girly, would be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to see I would really love to see your opponent suicide all of his race into a couple of spore colonies. Where are the race though? We seem to have lost track of them. Did they run? Okay, here they are. I was gonna say, did they run into Hydralisk? Did I miss that? We're gonna have to watch these guys. I want these guys to be gone. I can't wait for them to run into like a Hydralisk and the Hydralisk just comes out with like a bajillion kills. Be so dope because they could just run over like 2 or 3 Hydralisks, be right clicked and just get totally slammed. And ASCV underscore, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the cast that we've got going on here. And oh no! Nina's super dope drop that could potentially change the way that this game is going for her gets caught by these super ridiculously low race, and they all just insta-give! Oh my god! Oh man, all the race just disappear out of the air in the blink of an eye. Man, that must feel really bad, Ranko. But he does have a couple more race being produced. I just don't like this. I mean, like, your opponent's got Defiler Tech, your opponent's got Hydralisk on the map. It's like, why continue to produce these races? It didn't work the first time. You know, just keep making units, man. You've got her on 2 bases. Just walk over there and kill her, man. Look at all this. Like, can you guys just imagine if Ranko had taken this 3rd base, like 15 minutes ago? Like, and just made like 7 factories? This is ridiculous, right? Like, Ranko would have just destroyed Nina. But at this point in the game, it's like Nina's still in this because Ranko has not made very much use out of his economic advantage that he's had. Oh my god, and Ranko just, I mean, like, going for the eraser but losing Science Vessel. I just, these are weird decisions. I mean, he has a ton of money, but like, if a Defiler had just been here and plagued, I feel like going for that would have been pretty ridiculous. Alright, here comes some more Wraiths to do, I guess, a lot of damage to these Overlords. Like, God, Nina has been fighting like a freaking champ. But at this point, all of her bases are mined out. She's not going to really be able to afford another hatchery in just a couple of seconds here. Okay. And now she has to produce a crap ton of Overlords. This is insane. I cannot believe that she stuck it out this long, but like, Nina's super dead right now. Oh no, and some important lurkers walking into this army, not getting too much value out of them. A little unfortunate. More lurkers going to be going down to some irradiates here in a little bit. Nina, oh my god, what a sneaky little base! What a cheeky freaking, oh my gosh, look at this, Nina taking this bottom base here. This is like one of the ideal bases for Terran to expand to after you go this low ground one. This is actually a pretty bad base for Terran because there's no gas anywhere, just a mineral only. You don't really want to be taking that as your 3rd base. But this is a very natural 4th base to take, and the fact that Nina's taking this just tells me that she's got cojones the size of Saturn, man. That's ridiculous. Oh my god, I can't believe she's sticking this one out. Look at this. Look at the mineral count right now. We've got, like, let's see, 5 drones on minerals, dude. 5 drones on minerals right now, and Nina's sticking in this game. What a freaking champion. Even got a little Zergling run by, trying to do some damage. Unfortunately, though, believe it or not, SCV's pretty overpowered. Never die. I know that the unit information down here says that they actually have 60 HP. That's actually a bug. So SCVs actually have 8 HP, but it's a sideways 8, so it means they have unlimited HP. They just never die. They're totally invincible, impervious to damage, and by far the most broken unit in the entire game. More Overlords going down. This is just such a huge shame. NinaZerg can't afford to lose any minerals whatsoever. Every single mineral is super important left in this game. As you can see, basically no semblance of an economy. She needs to be able to drone this match up and or drone this base up and get her economy back online, and losing Overlords is huge, man. That's those 2 Overlords, that's 4 drones worth of minerals, plus she has to reproduce them, so it's just like a ridiculous amount of damage that's being done just in these tiny little Wraith movements out here. But Man, Ranko's styling on Nina a little bit here with the Wraith play. Just, I'm not sure if he's like doing this to like just be like, I'm so ahead, I'm just gonna make Wraiths, or if like this is like legitimate like Ranko's like super secret strategy or whatever. But it's definitely bad, Ranko. I'm telling you right now, man. If you ever get in this situation again, you know what these are? Wraiths cost as much as tanks. You could have had like 30 tanks, and instead you decided to have like 30 Wraiths, and you've killed maybe like 7 lurkers and like 15 overlords or something, when you could have killed like NinaZerg, like the entirety of the essence of NinaZerg like 40 times over at this point. But alright, so now we're shooting this Hydra's Den. Really great use of these waste time here. Just gonna shoot at this building and kill it eventually. Yeah, just very strong. Really some superior moves here. Just 300 IQ Galaxy Brain attack coming out of Ranko right now. Oh man, oh no, and the last sunken colony is gonna go down! Oh my gosh, this is the turning point of the entire game! What's happening? Ah! Okay, sorry, I'm getting really bored. I'm not gonna lie, I really want something to happen in this game. Alright. Ranko finally deciding to move in with an army just for fire bats, though not sure why. But yeah, another building going down very slowly. And yeah, so things are dying now. NinaZerg finally kind of getting put out of her misery here a little bit, but this base is starting to look a little healthier. I'm not sure what the double Evo is about, but that's cool, I guess. Potentially Nina trying to... I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna pretend to know why she's doing a double Evo here. I think maybe to potentially stop like any kind of run by or whatever, but now we got quadruple Evo. I think she's just BMing. She's just making evolution chambers here. NinaZerg just... It's such a ridiculous game, man. Why, Nina? Why? Come on. This is ridiculous. Starting a collection. Maybe she's just a evolution chamber collector. Really a fan of Evos. It's a good Evo, you know, good building. I like them. You know, they let you get upgrades. Upgrades are good. They're not bad because upgrades upgrade your units, which is why they're called upgrades and not downgrades. If they downgraded your units, they'd probably be bad. But as it stands, upgrade's pretty good. So let's see. Ranko just has no idea where Nina's base is. He's just gonna come down here like 10 years from now and be like, alright, there is so many evolution chambers here, I might as well give up now because the units are so upgraded, because the upgrades are so good that I'll never win. Cap. But yeah, so just the cleanup going on here. Are we gonna get a GG, or is this game gonna go on for forever? I don't know. It's been 36 minutes. I'm running out of things to say about this one, but okay, now any minute. Oh, finally gets the scan. Finds the evolution chamber farm. Nina just trying to make it take extra long for her to die. But we finally have Wraiths coming down here to start poking at this base. And yeah, there's a respectable number of evolution chambers coming down here. So anytime now, guys. Should be seeing that GG anytime here, guys. Come on, Nina. Come on, old girl. Good game. There we go. All right. Into the game. And boom. And friggin' Ranko takes the series 2-1. I sense sarcasm. I sense some serious sarcasm. And perhaps a hint of salt coming from our girl, NinaZerg. Oh, man. The quote-unquote GMBM continues as the evolution chambers slowly fall in the saddest explosion party ever to be seen on this channel. And here we go, last evolution chamber, and it's game over. Okay, wait. Okay, we're good. Okay, cool. All right. Thought we were gonna have to sit through more of that, and I was gonna be pretty upset because I didn't even know where the last building was. So, alrighty. So a very strong series out of both these players. Unfortunately for Nina, I think NinaZerg honestly was the stronger player, but Ranko just getting a lot done with the drops in that series. Very unfortunate for Nina. Drops are difficult to defend, especially as a Zerg player, if you're not looking out for them. And unfortunately, Ranko able to, you know, just kind of tap that weakness a bunch of times with his drop play and destroyed NinaZerg in the two games that he won. So unfortunate, but yeah, that's how they go.